Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives on how to approach a career in the field from different artists, producers, engineers, and other great minds who share their stories on not only what's made them succeed, but also what has shaped them into the people that they are today. I hope you gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you in your endeavors on your own journey towards success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 138 here in the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today I welcomed a Mississippi native. He's currently residing in Alabama. His name is Kndrx. I actually discovered Kndrx probably around the beginning of December of this past year. And I reached out to him about being on the podcast, and he agreed. So it was good to get him on the show today. We discussed, his early beginnings in music, really around 2013, so about 10 years now, and taking it seriously as an artist since 2017, where he dropped his first mixtape, and he's really just been evolving ever since. He talked about, the differences between his recording and writing processes since then, putting out his recent single called Cloud 9, and how that's going to lead to his album that might already be out by the time this episode comes out. It's called Under Pressure. So be on the lookout for that. I'm very excited for it as well. He also talked about, wanting to do more live shows this year, also do some music videos behind the album. So he has a lot of cool stuff in the works, and I really just, am looking forward to seeing what he can do. So as always, I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and without further ado, let's get into it. All right, welcome everyone to episode 138 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creator Series. Today I have an artist. He's originally from Mississippi, currently in Alabama. Discovered this guy literally like a few weeks ago, so I'm glad to get, him on the show today. Kndrx is here. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm great. And once again, thanks for, agreeing to do this. I'm excited for it. And to pretty much start off every episode, we have the guests give some background. How long have you been doing music? How'd you get into it? Just some basic things that, the average person wouldn't know about you.
Okay. Well, I've been around music my whole life. Sung in, children's choir at church. Mm-hmm. Sung in gospel choir in high school. I used to make beats on FL in high school. And so, it's always been a part of me. And then I started recording, in 2013. And then I started taking it serious in, 2017. And ever since then, it's just been all gas, no brakes.
Yeah, man. So that's 10 years almost since you started recording, this coming year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Great to see you're sticking with it.
Actually, it'll be officially 10 years in I want to say May next year.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. It's great to see that, you're still sticking with it, and like you said, you're starting to just get it going now, even just back to 2017, just started to get the artist thing going and everything. And,
Right.
just from the stuff I've heard, and we're going to touch on some of this stuff as well. I was just thoroughly impressed by the sound and everything. So, I think what you're doing is great, man. And I'm curious to know, when you were growing up, let's say, who were you listening to as a kid, maybe even right before you became an artist, where you're that's kind of something I want to do. I want to do music, do it in my own way. Even today, who are you listening to today that, you kind of still draw from?
Man, I swear it's so different from a kid until now. Because as a kid growing up, whatever my mom played, she used to play Project Pat a lot. And who else? And then we used to listen to the radio a lot, so I used to hear a lot of Q-Tip, a lot of Jay-Z. My stepdad is a real big Jay-Z fan, so I used to hear him play him all the time. And then my grandma used to listen to the blues and stuff like that, and that was the music I listened to as a kid. And so as I got older, high school, teenage years, it was more Lil Wayne, Boosie, Paul Wall. I was all over the place, and now it's just, I still feel like I'm all over the place, but at the same time it's more so J. Cole, Kndrx, Drake, Big Sean, Eminem. It's a whole lot of other artists also, Westside Boogie, Reeves, and Luke. So Jid. So it's just those are the artists today and like the past artists, those are the artists that like I kind of like draw my inspiration from. And then I listen to like local artists, people that's on the come up. So like I get inspiration from them also.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. And it's really great, the kind of the era that we're in now, where with like streaming and everything, you can go back and listen to like all your favorite old records, and then you can discover like so much new stuff too. And it's all like in one place and everything. So I think that's great as well. And like the Cloud9 song, for example, I heard that and I was like, that feels like it has some Southern like influence, like Southern hip hop influence a little bit too. It felt like something that you could just get in the car to and just ride to. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
That's like how I felt when I heard it. So I'm like, I feel like Paul Wall. I was like, yeah, that makes sense because it's like that real Southern hip hop style. So I definitely love that, and it's great to just take like those bits and pieces from your memories of music as well, and just like when you're making music yourself, you just infuse them in, and you always like add your own style in there. So I think that's super awesome. So coming like from Mississippi, I don't know like what the climate for wanting to be an artist is, or even like pursuing music. So like, what was that like, even just growing up, and when you decided you wanted to do that, what was kind of I don't know, like from like friends, from peers, like what was kind of the reaction, and how did you kind of like maneuver through that, I guess?
Well, I feel like in Mississippi there's a lot of talent, and there's a saying, we have something to say. So like all the time, like I find new Mississippi artists almost every day, if not every day, every week, and there's so much talent. Like even outside of music, it's like people that shoot videos, or photography, or just anything artistic. It's crazy, man. And like with me deciding to go ahead and just take it serious, I actually wasn't even in Mississippi, but I was with my friends that I grew up with in high school, and so we was in Florida for New Year's, and I woke up one morning, literally just woke up one morning, turned my laptop on, and started making a beat. And then one of my closest friends, he came in the room and he was like, "Hey, bro, I like that. Keep going." And then so I just kept on making beats. I probably made like 5 or 6 beats within like an hour and a half. And I'm really not even a beat person for real. Like it's just something like it was for fun to do. And then next thing you know, I was like, well, I used to write poetry in high school, so why not go ahead and do it? And then so I told my friend, I said, at the end of 2017, I will have a mixtape out, and that's exactly what I did. And it's actually coming up, the anniversary coming up actually next week for that. And so like with me taking it serious back in 2017, I knew it was going to be challenging because a lot of Mississippi artists don't have the same platform, like, as if I was coming from Atlanta or New York, places like that. So I know I had to venture out, go to other places, and just, excuse me, and just like find a way to get myself out there more, which I'm still trying to do. And with me coming to Alabama, I've met a lot of great talent here also. And I mean, they have a slight platform also. They have artists that came from Alabama that's pretty big too. And so it's just me trying to get away from a small area, because small areas it's not impossible, but it's still unlikely, especially with today. It's harder to get your stuff out there, even though we have so much that we can use, versus back in the 90s where they was passing out CDs or cassette tapes, or they just hear one song on the radio and all of a sudden you're famous.
Yeah.
So that's basically it.
Yeah. It's definitely very interesting, and I always love to bring that up, especially people that are in like the smaller markets, I guess, and they're not in like the major cities, because it definitely, and just to see the evolution too, because like you said, back then it was kind of impossible if you weren't in New York or LA, really, because that was even before like Atlanta and like Houston had a hip hop scene as well. It wasn't a thing until like the 2000s, and then for Atlanta it was like the 2010s it really started to take off and everything. So I think it really is, all in what you're looking to do as well. And for you, I think it's been beneficial from what you've just said, is like you had to kind of get out of that comfort zone a little bit and kind of move to that new environment and just like meet new people and make connections and things like that. And I actually have a buddy, his name is Mike Dance. He's from Alabama. And we talked the last like couple episodes, I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes ago, I had him on again. And he was kind of saying like, what's been going on around there and just how he feels really good about like the creative energy that's been going on with his collective and everything. And so definitely a lot of cool opportunities there. And I'm glad to hear that you found, kind of what's worked for you as well, man. And yeah, 5 years then. So 5 years like coming up for that first mixtape. So that's definitely cool.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome,
It's crazy. And like me and my cousin, we have a thing where when it's time for me to drop a project, we literally, when I get all the songs recorded, we literally ride around and we listen to everything. And when I say everything, I'm talking about like all the new stuff that hasn't been out yet, and including what we did back in 2017. Yeah. So it's like, so we can just hear the difference, hear the growth, see what I've learned without even me, saying it. And then we go back and analyze and be like, okay, well, you did this back then and you kind of still doing it a little bit. So let's see if we can do something different right there.
Yeah.
And then go from there. So
it's good to have that car test too. You know what I mean? Just right around, especially the new stuff. You're like, you want to see how it plays like in the whip and everything. So that's awesome. And that kind of leads me into my next question, which was kind of like, let's just say now, compared to 5 years ago, how do you think your writing process has evolved, your recording process? Like, because you said you can hear the evolution of your sound. So how do you think it's changed since, let's say, 2017 as opposed to what you're doing right now?
I say 5 years ago, I was nervous. 5 years ago, I was nervous on a lot of those songs because it was still kind of fresh for me. Because I also had a period of time, like 2 years, I had 2 years where I wasn't recording. And so it was kind of like hard for me to like get back in that, catch that feel again. And on top of that, I was like, all right, now I'm actually taking this serious. Like, I'm actually finna like put this out as like, like I'm an official artist now. And then on top of that, it was like the way I wrote, I was always thinking about my favorite artists and like, how would they do this? How would they do that? How would Kndrx do this? Okay, what would Kndrx say on this? And so I literally had a couple of songs. They on SoundCloud. You can find them on SoundCloud. Name the same. There's one called Element and there's one called DNA. I rapped on those beats, Kendrick Lamar beats. And one of my friends was like, bro, you about to put out, you basically about to rap off all these beats. And he was like, you got to find your own sound. I was like, you right. So from then until now, I noticed I've gotten out of what would Kndrx do, what would Cole do, I've gotten out of that phase in my life to where it's like now when I hear a beat, I'm like, all right, so how would I really come on this beat? Like, what would I say? What would I do? Like, is this me or is this somebody else? And then it's like now I get to the point to where I'll write a song and literally have it memorized that same day and go in the studio that same night and wouldn't even use my phone. I just put my phone on D&D. Hey, turn the beat on. It's time to go. Like, because it's like I've done it so much, and as I'm writing it, I'm practicing it also of how I want to say it. And then if I want to change something up, I can just instantly do it.
Yeah.
I just type it in and instantly do it, and it comes so easy now after I write the song.
Yeah.
But I do have moments where I go, you'll never get out of that. Oh, I'm going through a writer's block. Like, you're gonna always go through a writer's block and all those other hurdles that come with doing music.
Yeah.
But other than that, once that wheel get rolling now, I'm on it. I can go all night.
Just wanted to take a quick minute out of this episode to let you know about our current sponsor, SessionWire. If you've ever used Zoom before, then you'll be right at home with SessionWire. They allow you to connect face-to-face with anyone, anywhere by sending them a single link to your very own personal SessionWire Studio. SessionWire Studio is a virtual control room that combines many familiar tools like video, voice, file transfer, chat, and storage. And it also allows an industry-first separate HQ audio channel for listening to and recording with studio quality sound. And I'm very excited to, be on board with SessionWire and have them, sponsor the podcast for the next few months. We'll also be giving away 3 versions of their brand new V3 software in April, which I'm very excited about as well. So be on the lookout for that. But if you want to, know more about SessionWire now and you want to get started today, go to sessionwire.com. And with their VIP early bird pre-launch offer, you'll be able to get SessionWire's artist plan for only $99, plus a free year of the all-new SessionWire Studio when it officially launches if you use the pre-purchase code ProvenKnowledge22. That's ProvenKnowledge22. Once again, very excited to have SessionWire on board, and stay tuned for the giveaway. But for now, let's get back into the episode.
I was gonna say, I think honestly the hardest, and it's really with anything you do, especially when you're new at it, when you're starting out, it's always probably the hardest, because you're just like, you don't really understand it, and then you're also frustrated and you want things to be perfect like quickly, but then you gotta like step back and realize that it takes time and repetition, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. So it's like you can look back like 5 years ago or like 10 years ago and be like, myself back then, I had like no idea what I was doing, but I'm glad I like stuck with it, because now I understand like more of how to do it and do it my own way. So that's definitely something that I think like everyone can learn in their own way. And again, that's even outside of music. That just goes for like life in general. It's like you kind of got to dive in and just start messing around, and sometimes you're gonna come up with some stuff that's just not even that good. And it's like you don't even have to release it. Just do it and like, make it and say you did it and move on to the next one. And I like what you said about, not drawing too heavily from the influences from like your favorite artists and things like that, because you do eventually have to find your own voice, your own sound. And I still like how, artists do like freestyles every once in a while over like someone's beat, especially like a popular song or something. But then they also know that like, they have their own message. You know what I mean? And they have their own story to tell. So I think that's kind of what you were describing there as well, as, kind of just getting to your own story and figuring that out yourself. Now, do you feel the same way about, I know you said you don't really make beats a ton and you wouldn't consider yourself like a producer, I guess, but do you feel the same way with beats too, where it's like you were kind of like hesitant about it at first, and then the more you did it, it kind of got easier, or you never really thought of it the same as like writing and things like that?
No, I don't think I've thought about it the same with writing, because honestly, before I actually started, I was always writing, even before I was trying to make beats. But when I was making beats, like I had the demo FL, I couldn't afford to get the
the full version.
Package. So like when I was making beats then, and even on GarageBand, because I used to do them on GarageBand also, it was like, it was easy. It was easy for me to like get started, but it was harder for me to finish, because as I'm going through sounds, I'm hearing so much stuff at one time, and I want to put all those sounds in one beat. And so I knew for a fact that I was like, man, it's so much like that I could do, and not be wanting to do all of that at one time. But I know I have to stick to one thing at the end of the day, because and you don't want to have too many sounds in one beat. And I don't like a cluttered beat. So it's just,
you get that overwhelm, that like sensory overload when there's that much to choose from. So
I think now if I started back making beats, I probably would have more patience with it, because learning patience with creating music in general, and just not rushing to put it out, kind of gave me more patience with a lot of things musically. So I think I probably could go crazy with it now.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you ever do, let me know. I'd love to hear what you got, man, because that's definitely cool, and even like potentially making like your own songs to rap over too. I think that's a crazy opportunity. So like the recent release is Cloud9. That's like the most recent thing, the most recent single. So like tell me about that, and just tell me about like how that's going to kind of lead into what you got coming next, I guess, for 2023 as well.
Cloud9. I wrote that song sometime last year. I really can't remember. But honestly, I couldn't even tell you what I was thinking. I just heard that beat and instantly it was just like literally the first thing I said, okay, won't fold under pressure. I really got been gone. Cause I was like, dang, it has been a while since I dropped music. So I think it was just a combination of, me not writing and not putting out music for a while, and then, I was going through certain things in life, so I feel like I was like, all right, I took a couple L's, but like now that I'm back in my zone, I feel like I'm winning now, and then I talked about having a certain woman as my peace of mind and stuff like that, so it's just. Yeah, it was. I instantly heard the beat, and I just knew exactly what I was gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like at that time when I wrote it, I didn't know where it was gonna go, or what it was gonna do, how it was gonna sound. So that ending part, that's where that came from. And I actually just added that earlier this year because I went through another phase where I was just like, I kind of went through a block. And then I just listen. When I go through a block, I just continuously listen to what I already recorded or what I've already written, and then that came to me. So that and the way it's gonna lead me into. I put that out because that's like really gonna be my one single for the album, and and I'm going to keep promoting it because I want to use that as the platform to be like, hey, this is how this is the tone of the album.
Mm-hmm.
So I want people to know, like, hey, this is the tone of the album. This is where I'm coming from, and this is how it's gonna go. Everything might not sound like that because I do like to switch it up from time to time. So that's basically it.
Yeah, I think it's a great first offering as well, and it definitely gets me pumped to see like what's next. And who, like, is there anyone that's like a collaborator that you're working with on this project? Could be like artists or producers. Anyone you want to shout out that we should like be on the lookout for as well?
I have one of my friends. He's a producer, but he didn't make any beats for this album. Not this album, but we're working on some stuff. I want to give a shout out to Cole Making Moves. He's a great producer, engineer. He's really a jack of all trades. He can do photography. He shoot videos. Him, I want to give a shout out to my homie A-Sling. He does have, I think he has one beat on the album. I've been working with him since actually for 5 years. He produced and engineered my EP Blackout, and we worked on a couple of songs from my past albums, and I want to say he had a couple of songs on my first mixtape too. So those
Mm-hmm.
two I work with a lot, and then it's a guy PK Beats. I don't know him personally, but we've had interactions before where I got beats from him, and he has a beat on the upcoming album. Actually, Cloud9 is the beat that he made.
Nice.
So
nice,
I want to give a shout out to them.
Awesome, man. Definitely always love hearing about different collaborators, especially that the artist is working with and everything. So it's definitely awesome to hear. And do you have like what details can you reveal about the project? Maybe like how many tracks, release date, something. Is there anything you can reveal like beforehand? I guess.
I can say I do have the cover art. I actually made the cover art myself. Um, um, it's gonna have about 10 songs, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, about 10 songs, yeah. And I was gonna drop it this month, but I felt like I was rushing, so I had to I just had to keep telling myself be patient, and I pushed it back. I want to say I'm pushing for January.
Nice, man.
Like middle of January, yeah. So
I was gonna say this
maybe
this episode's gonna be out in January, so it might be perfect timing. So.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm pushing for maybe the 14th. I think that's a Friday. I just said a random date.
It might be, yeah. It might be like Friday or Thursday or something like that. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited. And early congrats on that, man, because that's great.
Oh, yeah,
that's great to hear, man. And so other than the project, what do you think is like your biggest goal or biggest goals in general for 2023 now that we're kicking off a new year?
More performances. This year I started off the year 3 performances in Houston, Texas. 2 in January and 1 in February, and then I went cold. I didn't do any more performances. I was supposed to do, I was supposed to do 2 or 3 other performances, but they got canceled. So I'll say my goal next year is more performances. Traveling to more states, getting my name out there, and I guess I'll say more visuals too, because I don't do too many visuals like I should.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna really push forward for this album to have more visuals for it. So because that's a big part of promoting music and getting people to look forward to something.
Yeah. And I think the good thing about like putting an album out at the beginning of the year is you can kind of just ride that out for the majority of the year with the shows, with the visuals. Like during the shows, you can start performing the new music, you know what I mean, and see how people are reacting to it, putting out the visuals, seeing what you can do there. So I think that's going to be great to kind of just like create content all around that whole album and just like have a whole release schedule for it. So definitely excited to see what you do with it, man. So that's great stuff. So last few questions here, and these are ones I ask on every episode. And the first one is, if you can go back 5 years ago, maybe give yourself a piece of it. Actually, no, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I've said 5 years so much in this episode, I forgot it's 10 years. So go back 10 years ago, give yourself a piece of advice, maybe not change anything at all. What do you think you would do?
I would say 10 years ago, I would say to myself, hey, dog, take it serious, because you didn't realize, I didn't realize how much, or how many people I would meet. Like every time I went somewhere, like when I was in college, junior college, university, and even outside of just traveling, I would always meet somebody that either engineers, produces, or write music. So it was just like, once I started taking it serious, because I was like, that's a sign. So I would say to myself 10 years ago, take it serious. All gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
Be patient. Trust the process. And because I didn't realize I actually have a support system. Like it's only a few people. It's only like a handful of people, but at that time, I didn't even think about taking it serious because my mind was on other things. Young, man, I was young. I'm 30 now, so it's like I was crazy young, mind on partying and stuff and women. So it's like now I wish, I don't regret it because that made me who I am today.
Yeah.
But I still would have liked to have that mindset back then.
And sometimes it's just like the timing of it too. You know what I mean? It's like everything kind of happens in its own time. So it's almost like it was kind of meant to be when it did happen. But yeah, definitely feel you on that one. So if we could go, and say let's say 10 years from now, where do you think you want to be in your life and your career?
10 years from now, I would like to be having dinner with Jay-Z. No, I seen this tweet where $100,000 studio equipment or dinner with Jay-Z, and a lot of people was like dinner with Jay-Z. But yeah, 10 years from now, I think I would want to be well established and actually have my own label, and because I do want to start a label, at least, and have one in my hometown, Starkville, Mississippi, and have one in my hometown, have its own building for, artists and people like us that want to do anything, podcast recording, video shoots, photo shoots. And if they want to do it, they can come, and do that, get like, basically have a place to come and get their thoughts out, live their dream, because it's not a lot of places in Mississippi where we can go and perform besides like Jackson, maybe Hattiesburg. So, and Jackson is like the biggest place to go in Mississippi for music. So I want to kind of like have like another area in Mississippi, which would be my hometown, where artists come to and perform all the time, and have a studio there just for people, to come, to.
Yeah, man.
Because most of the time when artists when rappers or any musicians come, it's because of Mississippi State, which, what I'm saying, I'm not knocking it, but it's just outside of college, you don't really have artists coming to Starkville for real. So I kind of want to get that, put us on the map that way, to where we have artists come to Starkville or just in the general area to perform, and give teenagers and any other people opportunities to record their own music.
Yeah, man. Make a whole like creative camp out of there, and that's right. Super important, especially to give back to the community and give back to your hometown as well. So, man, I wish you all the best of luck on that, and that'll be incredible when you make that happen. So, I do think I would also pick the dinner with Jay-Z though, because the amount of gems you'd get out of that probably a lot more valuable than studio equipment.
Man,
but
right,
definitely
right. Because at that point, I just play like some of my music, but
right,
man, while we're talking,
just be like, give me your thoughts on this. Give me your thoughts on this, Hov. What do you think about this? But yeah, man. So, do you have any final words of wisdom today for the listeners?
Follow your dreams. It's cliche, but I mean it's real.
Yeah.
Follow your dreams. Never give up. Never back down. Turn no into yes. Free your mind from any doubts. Don't let nobody tell you that you can't do anything, because you can do anything you want to do. You can be who you want to be in life, and just, again, never give up on it.
Yeah, man. Got to keep going. Always got to keep going. Well, Kndrx, man,
right.
That's all I have for you today. I appreciate you once again for joining me, and this was a great conversation, man. And like I said, I'm wishing you best of luck on the album and everything you got coming up here and the new year, and we'll have to do this again soon, man. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. I appreciate you for having me. It's an honor, and I can't wait for this to come out so I can send this to all of my friends and family.
Yeah,
man. By the way, the album is going to be called Under Pressure. So,
awesome. Be on the lookout, man.
Thanks everyone for listening today. That was episode 138. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit the support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send any funds, and feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you then. Thanks everyone.